We're going down memory lane. I'm bringing you back. Let's go down real live.
We're live.
Okay. Open the meeting up to call the meeting to order. Approval of tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Mr. Kenner, second by Ms. Hayes. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Review and approval of meeting minutes for March 11, 2025 meeting.
I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Hayes, second by Mr. McKenna. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of claims for public property is $54,164.09. Public safety is $120,757.85.
Motion to approve the claims as presented.
I will second that.
Been moved by Mr. McKenna, second by Ms. Hayes. Any questions? I guess I should ask, did everybody get a chance to?
No, we need to sign it.
We have to sign it, but yeah, I think we got a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I've looked at it.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys remember that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Public comment. See, we got room full.
That chair's though.
No public comments? All right, let's move on.
Sign for a second.
Report to committee, Sheriff's Department.
Thank you, sir. Elevator project, the public elevator in the front will be inspected on Thursday and it'll be up and running. It has a phone, a camera, and a fire suppression equipment in it, which it did not have before, so we'll actually meet code from here on out. HVAC, the Helm Group is waiting for the last inspection at the jail for the HVAC unit, and then the work is complete, so we're at the end of that. All has been good. I have 2 months ago, I explained a little bit about Karina's Law. If you remember, Karina's Law was a young lady that was killed by her significant other. I don't remember if it was a boyfriend or husband, but he had guns. She had an order of protection, and the guns weren't taken away, and he ended up killing her with a weapon. So the state has passed what is called Karina's Law. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's going to affect us in a humongous way. What's going to happen is, if a person goes to the courts, they can ask for an order of protection and a search warrant for the significant other's weapons. Now, they have to explain to a judge why that's important, but the judge can then go ahead and check the box, and then the sheriff's office or the police department, whoever receives the 911 call, whoever would receive a 911 call, that's how the areas are divided. That agency is responsible for serving a search warrant within 96 hours. Well, being in law enforcement, I can see all kinds of problems with that because there's obviously been some sort of a dispute. There's been some sort of trauma at the house. And is this the truth or not? Well, obviously, we're going to always say it's the truth, whatever the person, the complainant says. So we have to go serve a search warrant. It's not as easy as everyone thinks. This person knows that we're coming to get their guns, and you know how some people are about having their Second Amendment rights taken away. They may decide to defend themselves. This is going to take our emergency SWAT team and put them into action. We are not going to go about this lightly because we have guns and ammunition involved. Now, that's the low end. Last Wednesday, Joe Davis County ended up serving their first one. The suspect was seen out front. A search warrant was supposed to be done to get his guns. Well, a patrol deputy actually saw the person, gave chase. He ran into the house, and one of the guns that was on the wall, don't know why he kept it there, was then gone. He barricaded himself in the house for about 32 hours at the Galena Territory. The Illinois State Police was called in. Stephenson County Sheriff's Office was called in. Joe Davis County and Ogle County SWAT teams were all there. So there's going to be a cost to this. For my office, we're going to do it as smart and as safely as possible so we don't create a barricaded gunman or a hostage situation. But, you know, we can wish that it happens that way. Hopefully it doesn't, but we still have a time limit on that search warrant for 96 hours, which is ordered by a judge. I hope to have more about what we're going to do. I mean, I'm not going to explain tactics to you, but we're going to do it as safely as possible. So that's kind of the update on Karina's law, and it's only been in effect for a month now, and we've got our first standoff. That one was resolved without a shot fired, but it was pretty high end. ADA restrooms. I have personally met with the representatives from Tiles and Styles from South Holland. They are putting together a work list and drawings of the project for me to look over. As I explained to them, I want to know exactly what they're thinking, and I want them to know exactly what I'm thinking, so that way when they think that the project's done and it's not, we don't have that problem. So I will not be doing anything with them until I know every bit of each of those restrooms are going to be renovated and then put back together. I don't want any loose ends. So I'll be waiting on that. The cleaning RFP is due Thursday, and then I'll be ready to discuss that with all of you next month. And I've had 4 walkthroughs, and I'm waiting on an additional 2 tomorrow. So we should have a few, I would think, RFPs for this. And that's all I have.
Okay, any questions? So you thinking with this Karina law, there might be at times some issues?
There could be if we can't get a search warrant done in the amount of time we're supposed to, or we have to push the envelope. Now, some of the problems with that is a citizen can go and file this themselves and check the box that says search warrant for the guns. That's going to be a problem because then we don't know what the information is. When we do search warrants now, if I was the case agent, I know all of the information, the whys, the hows, and how everything's happening. If a judge just says, yep, that looks good, and then all of a sudden a piece of paper comes to my office and says, you got to serve this within 96 hours, I don't know anything else about it. We're hoping that the judges are going to be kind of do their due diligence and say, get a lot of that information, the hows, the wheres, the whys. They do have to be kind of specific. They can't say that they saw guns there 6 months ago. It has to be within a reasonable amount of time and actually explain where they're kept and how they're kept. So I'm hoping that helps. I don't have the whole debriefing on what happened in Joe Davis County, but we're gonna learn. We're gonna learn as we go.
So that's all guns?
All guns. You don't have to say on the search warrant one particular. It's any and all guns and ammunition that are in the house. Then the other part to that is we have to store them. Problem with that, and I don't want to go on with this too much, but if you have a very old, priceless firearm and we take it because there's some sort of domestic dispute, we have to make sure that that gun stays in great shape. And that's the first thing I said. What happens if it's not? What happens if it just got a little scratch on it? And now its worth went from $5,000 down to $2,500 because it's not mint, it's excellent. Who's responsible for that? And right now, the way the law is the Stephenson County Sheriff's Office, so Stephenson County is responsible for that. Eek. So I wish I had better news, but I want to make sure that you understand that. And over time, there was no way I knew this was going to happen. If we have to call out, we get 5 orders of protection on Fridays normally. If we just start getting 5 of those on Fridays alone, and 2 of those have a search warrant that's attached to them, that's quite a feat. That's a couple hours out there searching for these guns and going to these places and detaining people. We're only detaining for our protection until we get the guns. They're not under arrest. They just have a search warrant to get their guns. So I think we had 7 or 8 order protections this week already. As soon as they start tacking this on and people understand about this, we're going to have some time on our hands.
Sir?
Quick question. I'm almost certain that it's probably going to be videotaped by your officers.
Oh yeah.
So you're going to be able to say, look, this is what we got, and when I get this gun, probably that's a videotape too.
Oh yeah.
Hey, this is how it looks. And we're going to put it wherever we put it,
And we might have to go even above and beyond that. Our evidence person might have to take pictures of
Yeah,
that
sure,
whole
it's
thing.
fine.
We've talked about that also, how we're gonna have to basically log it, how it is and what it looks like.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Emergency management.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'll be brief compared to the sheriff tonight. We had a meeting over in Warren on March 12th with IEMA. Bill Shipley was his name. He's Director of Disaster Services and Recovery. We're kind of being mandated to come up with a resilience plan and a disaster planning plan on service above and beyond our EOP. So they're going to help us out with that. It was a really good meeting. He also talked extensively about some grant opportunities, which I think will help some of the communities in our county. United States Department of Agriculture still has permission and their grant funding has not been frozen yet. They're looking to possibly put an application for relocating the Winslow Fire Station that's been in a floodplain for the last 15 years, actually longer, but it's flooded 3 times in the last 15 years. And then Lena has a list of things too. They're at the top of their list is they would like to install a storm warning system for the village of Lena. So I'm really looking forward to helping those communities out, working with Bill down in Yuma. Those of you aware, we had the warehouse fire on March 22nd. I was notified there was concern that there was a lot of runoff from the amount of water that was used. I'm not even going to begin to guess or say. I know they said there was millions and millions of gallons of water that were used to put that fire out. I went and investigated that night, and again, following morning, pretty extensively. I did not see any signs of runoff. I did report this to IEMA and to the Illinois Department for Illinois Environmental Protection Agency. Way too many acronyms in this, but and they have not come up. They took my word that they felt that it was not anything. The fire, if you went out and looked at the actual fire, it happened behind St. Paul's Church. The fire started on the east, worked its way to the west. The last building on the west is a cement construction building. That's pretty much stopped the fire. And that the river quite well, actually. And everything that ran off to the south and east of that, it's dry. There was nothing there. There's nothing that showed that there was any sheen of any type of oil or diesel or anything else. And what lastly made me pretty confident that there was not anything that went into the river was there was a combine. There was 3 earth excavating type equipment in there. There was 2 motorhomes, a boat, and 4 cars. So the fuel and the amount of hazardous flammable liquids was pretty minimal, comparable to that size of a building. So to my knowledge, and usually the EPA will let me know when they come up and do an investigation, but they have not let me know, and the report's been closed. So the report was filed by my office, but I think everything is pretty much wrapped up. Any questions on that fire?
Yeah, what generated so much black smoke? Cause it was a lot.
The roof, the tar, it was a tar roof, yeah.
Okay.
There was really very, very little inside the building as far as that flammable, but once it got in that roof, I was told, I've seen parts of it 3 and 4 inches thick.
Yeah,
Tar.
it was.
And they're still working on the cause of it.
I can't answer that. I know it's being investigated, but I don't know.
You hear so many rumors.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah.
I'm retired now.
Yeah.
You might know a little something about that.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, I know of some concerns about the fire hydrant, one of them wasn't working or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything. The city of Freeport and most towns are not designed to flow, hundreds of thousands of gallons of water at once. There is a pretty decent sized main that runs down Stephenson Street, but you pull 2 trucks off of that, you pretty much exhausted that. And the problem with doing that is then you can't draw off that main so much that you create a vacuum where you drop below 20 PSI, which could cause a vacuum, which will cause water main breaks. So, there is limitations. Thank God we have good volunteer departments in our area. The MABUS response I was going to speak to here briefly was incredible. I think every village Department of Protection responded with the exception of Davis, and they had I think they were out doing grass fires on their own. So they set up shuttle services, they shut up tankers that they could shuttle water to, and they did an excellent job. I mean, they were 3 elevated streams, and they were flowing all they could flow. So that was nice to see. They don't practice that very much, but they're going to practice that a little more in the future, but they still got the job done as far as getting water on it. Long fire, it was over 12 hours that they're on scene. So,
It's just too bad you can't do nothing with traffic because there was a lot of traffic.
That's one of the things that come out of the critique was why, or next time, maybe they should draft out of the Pecatonica instead of trying to use hydrants in different locations downtown.
Yeah, that's.
Again, I'm retired, I'm not in charge. I'm not gonna be too critical, I know how those scenes go.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay? Not lastly, we met with, Anthony Bustos. He is the president of the American Radio Relay League, and the Aries is the Amateur Radio Emergency Services. It was kind of an interesting conversation, because years ago, this was made up of a group of guys, ham radio and local radio enthusiasts. With today's modern technology, there's value there, but maybe not as much as there once was. So we had a really nice meeting, Lieutenant Mike Backus, myself, with him, trying to figure out what they could do for the Sheriff's Office for emergency management. And we're gonna continue this relationship and try to build on this. He's got about 7 or 8 guys that are radio enthusiasts, that are very knowledgeable, that could be beneficial in times of a disaster. So we're gonna pursue this with them and try to get them activated up and running again. The fiscal year 24 emergency management preparedness grant is still on a funding freeze. I was instructed by AEMA to go ahead and continue to put in my claims and my request for reimbursements. So I'm gonna do that as if we're gonna get paid. I'm not sure when that's gonna happen. I hope it happens this year. MAVIS funding, which is mutual aid box alarm system, which is the fire and rescue side of that for the state of Illinois, is also under the same funding freeze, and they are very nervous. That's about 70% of their funding comes from FEMA grants. We hosted the National Weather Service Skyborne Spotter Training on Tuesday, March 18th. We had about 85 participants, which is about average, down a little bit from last year, but it's a 3-year course. It's good for 3 years, so I was really happy with the turnout with that.
That people, majority from Freeport or surrounding area?
All over Wisconsin. We had some people from Scott County and Iowa. I mean, that's crazy how far they traveled to do this. So yeah, it's really well attended. The National Weather Service puts it on their website, so they can kind of pick and choose what days work for them. And I mean, honestly, the facility out of Highland is top notch. So I think people like to come to that, and they can see and have a nice facility to witness the program. So again, that was a big hit. I guess that's all I have for now. Any questions?
Yeah, could you kind of explain this? I guess everybody received this in the mail.
Oh, about the solar? Is it solar? Or,
Pipeline, is that the pipeline?
We've already attended that. It's an annual training that's done. We have 2 pipelines that come through Stephenson County. Natural gas is digas, and then British Petroleum.
Okay.
It's training that they give that you can go either witness it in person, or I think you could take it online also.
But look, it's a survey.
It's a survey.
Yeah, it said please return this survey by mail or complete online.
Their mail list is really expansive. I know they send it to a lot of, public servants and elected officials, assuming that you've attended that training. So
I didn't.
I fill out a survey after every class I go to. I've been going to this class for 15 years. It's a very good class. It's informative, lets you talk to the contractors and people that are actually working with the pipelines.
Okay.
There's 2 separate classes. One is for emergency responders. One is for the actual pipeline workers. But more importantly, the emergency responders, it's working with the dispatch centers and being able to know who to call, when to call, and that kind of thing. So it's good training, and it needs to be updated. I mean, it's an annual thing. I don't mind going to it because the faces change. And like I said, we have pipeline in Stephenson County that we need to be aware of. So.
Okay. Well, I know saying, one question here, within the past 12 months, do you recall receiving information from your local gas service provider or pipeline company?
Our office does.
Okay.
Fire departments do.
Okay.
They usually host a banquet, so they can talk about the pipeline at the Eagles Club.
Okay.
And I know all the volunteer fire departments, our city fire departments, and sheriff's office all go to attend, and you get maps and we kind of figure out where the pipelines are.
Okay. Well, it seems like it should be going to you guys instead of me.
I think, Georgia, you get that.
I mean, I get
You
one.
need that? Okay.
Oh,
I didn't know. I thought I
you
had.
probably got it as the chairman of the committee.
Okay.
I guess one more thing I'll announce is next, or Monday, I guess, it's this coming Monday, CN Railroad is hosting some training, being held at Freeport Fire Station 3. It's an all-day training. Myself and Robin Gorsline are scheduled to attend. I've got a conflict right now. I don't know if I'm gonna make it, but Robin will be there. As a fireman, we've done this probably a dozen times. It's very, very good training. And they haven't done it since I retired. It's gonna be 5 years in August, so I'm glad they're bringing it back in. But again, that's an example where Chairman Helms received an email from CN and then, forwarded it to me. But
Okay.
the department already had it all, and I didn't do a darn thing except I signed up to go to the class, so.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to county coroner.
Good evening. I was absent for February. I was away at training, so I did bring those stats. So for February, we had 46 total deaths. 1 was accidental, 45 were natural, and 0 autopsies. For March, we had 53 total deaths. Of those, 3 were accidental, 2 were suicides, 48 were natural, and 8 autopsies performed.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Do you know how those autopsies are affecting your budget line for that?
I don't have the updated one. I was gonna ask Montana where we're at with, but that could use an increase because I think we went through it for, before I took over. Because they're $850 per autopsy.
For each?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you check tomorrow what that line is, what we budgeted for 25, please?
When does our fiscal end?
December 31st, it's calendar year.
How could we be already through our autopsy?
Yeah.
In just 3 months.
Not for the bag.
Oh, man, it's hard.
Has a lot for that.
Yeah.
I give you some.
Well, I know, but last year it seemed like they were doing autopsies a lot every month.
Yeah.
And to have 8 of them and be out of budget by the end of 3 months just sounds a little.
We'll look into it.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, we'll look into it and see where we're at.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, any questions?
Any questions? Well, you got yours answered.
I do have another if I could.
Yeah.
Staffing, you're good with everybody, and
Yeah, we're
Keep it
making
up.
do.
I know Todd Welch, when he was coroner, constantly was informing us the number of hours and how often everybody was working, so just.
There is significant amount of hours spent, especially the one we had this morning. I mean, you're looking at probably 7 hours at the hospital
Wow. Okay.
before we could actually wrap it up.
But you are fully staffed for what you need. Okay. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. The next 2, I know we probably don't have. Georgia.
I did not receive anything.
Okay. So we'll move on to old business. It will be approval of purchase of coroner's vehicle from Enterprise Fleet Program.
Do you want me to speak on that or? I don't know, for those of you who've been on the board for a while, the coroner vehicle was purchased through was leased through Enterprise governmental leasing program. That lease termed and we were able to purchase the truck, which before Mr. Welch's term ended, he spoke about how that was the one thing that he didn't have control of tying up before his term ended, but the plan was to purchase the vehicle outright. It made most sense. We know the car and the cost would be minimal. So we were finally able to, and thank you to Montana for the work she did on that. It was not the easiest process to get a purchase order or a final invoice price because they would bill us and say we had an outstanding amount before we could. So anyway, it took a little while to get that wrapped up, but we do have the invoice for that. So the purchase amount of the truck is $6,603.27. For those of you that may not know too, the truck was leased, but we had purchased the topper that is on the back of that. So that will completely be owned by the county then, if this is approved to purchase.
So the 6,000 is what left.
Mhm.
Do we need to make,
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the coroner's vehicle.
Second.
Been moved, seconded by Mr. McKenna. Any questions? What year was this truck?
2019.
2019.
2019, so Ford F-150.
Yep, I'm gonna say it's a F-150 XL 4x4 Super.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. All right, no new business. So we're moving comments from the committee. I know y'all got something to say.
Everyone aware that we're not having the special meeting tomorrow
Yes.
night?
Yes.
Thank you.
If not, move for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Kenner. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Good evening.
Thank you, Chairman.
I've got a message to St. Charles.